We are really just a perspective shift away from an entirely incredible, magical, amazing life and the opposite of that.
Welcome to Messages from the Body. My name is Kelly Vanyai and I'm a hypnotherapist. And Rebel Black, human agronomist, has asked me to take her into a trance so that she can receive messages for the collective from the body. As a human agronomist, Rebel knows exactly how to get the best out of people in whatever circumstance they're in life. So this podcast is for people who are looking to understand their behaviour, human behaviour, understand maybe what's going on in the collective and what it is that we're looking to shift at the moment.
So I think what I've seen coming through both in my own life and in the people that I work closely with, that is a bit of a theme that's emerged, is this idea of divine timing, Kairos timing, and the very real human struggles that happen when we're waiting for something or something isn't happening as quickly or as potently or in the way that we think it should. So, that sort of grappling of higher self knowing and universe delivering and human self wanting it to be happening now and in my way and in the right way that I think, rather than allowance. So that sort of struggle.
Oh, I love this topic. Okay, amazing. So let's get started then, shall we? It was at this point of our conversation that I took Rebel into a light trance using hypnotic inductions to allow her to receive messages that are stored within her body as a representation of the body of the collective. We'd now like to share with you the conversation that followed that channeling, where Rebel and I are discussing the topics that came through.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
That was amazing. So much wisdom there.
Yeah.
There was so many beautiful bits. The struggle and the judgment originally, I really loved how that came through about the fact that when we judge it as a struggle, it becomes a struggle, and then we become so focused on the struggle that the struggle is all we see, and then all of these answers that are possibly right next to that are sitting there, but we can't see them because we're just so focused on the one thing that's not working.
Yeah.
And this allowing to ask those great questions, to start to put ourselves into a mode of looking beyond what is holding us stuck. That was brilliant.
It really got the sense that it was, it's so darn obvious that when, I still feel that metaphor of the head going to the shoulder, that there are, there's probably only one particular path for that to take, but you miss. It's like I kept seeing these little light bulbs of but what about this over here? What if you touched that with your head? And, it was like one of those games where it's like if you just take the one pathway, you miss all the other bags of gold that are just over there because you failed to take the right turn or the left turn.
Yeah, maybe touching your head to your shoulder wasn't what was needed in that one moment. There was other things that were planned for that moment and you missed them because you were so focused on that one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it is how we miss the small and the big moments because our attention is somewhere other than where we are. The little details, the nuances of life that are where the magic is what you miss when you're so tunnel visioned on a thing or the way. Which I think so many people get to that, lots of people get to that point, but only usually once they've had some significant thing, near death, significant trauma, someone close to them has where their life has been so tipped on its head that they think, I'm never doing that again. And now I'm going to live for the journey. But I think it's why wait?
Yeah, right. Why wait?
Why do we have to manifest something terrible in our life in order to learn this stuff? Why is it that as a culture we revere the stories of people who have overcome struggles so significantly and but put ourselves in the we want what they've got, but think that the only pathway to get that is from some significant struggle?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not just have that?
Mm.
I think I remember one of the teachings of Abraham Hicks that I always loved was build new pipes. In when the water mains burst, the path of least resistance is not digging up and going in and having to fix the pipes. It's just lay new pipes.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what the message of this session was really like. Don't wait for things to be so bad that you literally only have two choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, learn this now, build new pipes, and be and like get rid of suffering so you can just love the journey.
Like divert the pipes around the problem, divert the pipes around that
Yeah,
distraction, around that suffering,
yeah,
and maybe there's a whole other flow of ease waiting there for you.
yeah. I mean, I'm the biggest advocate of this, and also it is a constant reminder to me like, why do you need to suffer? What value does the suffering bring? I think there's a lot of indoctrination in our
Mm-hmm.
culture, particularly in
Mm-hmm.
religion, around the art of suffering and the value of suffering, and the you must have suffering to know joy. No, just know joy. Why can we only know joy when we've also known suffering? And why would we tell kids that?
Mm.
Yeah, like, I'm the biggest struggler out, and most of it's internal. Like, people that didn't know me or hadn't heard any of my work over the last 20 years would be like, oh wow, her life's that duck on the pond. They just see this amazing little duck going, and but inside the struggle's been real, and it has been self-inflicted, which most suffering is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Self-inflicted. People don't go around generally, most people are good. We assume most people are good. They're not going around being like, oh, gee, I wish she suffered, and
Mm.
inflicting suffering on you. They might inflict their desire for you to do work for them or to be a particular way or, do certain things or achieve certain outcomes, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
inflicting suffering on you. Only we choose that. We can just do the work. We can just be the person. We can just leave like, not have them in our life anymore. The suffering is optional.
Yeah, moving through that threshold is probably one of the biggest difficulties that people go through when they're first starting along this journey. And I remember for me, when people used to say it's a choice, I'm like, I don't think so. This is how
Yeah.
things are. And I had all of the evidence as to why it wasn't
Yeah.
my choice that I was suffering. Yet we get to one day and you're like, oh, it's my choice. I can see it a different way. And so that decision thing that you talked about as well during your trance, it's like it is just a decision, and it doesn't feel like it when you're on one side of the threshold, and you really know it to be true once you're on the other side. And it's just such a fine line between them. But it's that pivotal moment in people's lives. Once you know it, you know it.
Yeah. And it is just seeing it as a door. It's like, see all decisions as easy as a door.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever metaphor works for you. A threshold you've crossed that was easy for you, that can be the metaphor for you. It's like, oh, hang on, this is just another door.
I love that.
Turn the handle, walk through. Yeah, okay, it's going to be challenging and unknown on the other side, but we rarely don't go through doors. The reason that we don't go through doors is because we've made up a whole bunch of assumptions of what would be on the other side. Mostly, generally, it turns out not to be true.
That's true. There was a study done years ago. I learned about it in a psychology class somewhere, that some adults and some children were put in front of a door and asked to open it. And the door had a handle and what looked like hinges and everything, but actually it was a trick door. And the way to enter it was to push on the side where the hinges were, not turn the handle. And so while you were talking, that was coming to mind, because sometimes we are at the door, but we're not asking the right questions. And so we're stuck in that pattern of, this is how it's always been, so this is how it must always be. But that's just a program, and that's just stuff we decided, and that's just stuff we were told, not necessarily the truth. And it was the children that could get through the door because they hadn't yet been locked into only one possibility.
Yeah, they didn't know the handle was the only way to get through a door.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love that. I mean, I think from the last session we did was like follow the children. You know, we talked about like follow the children. What do they do? And I think there's so much wisdom in that as well, to be observing of the curiosity and the fearlessness that children have, that they only learn through our conditioning. Don't touch that. It's, you know, and some of that is of high degrees of service, which of course we said in the
you did,
trance, was some things are really important to condition and the rest is not. The rest is just a way of perceiving or being in the world. It's endlessly fascinating.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
To stay curious and to stay in that childlike, like, what is here for me? How can it be? How can I see it differently? All of that is just, it seems to be coming through as one of the ways that people can start to be more in the acceptance of what is, and allowing for more of what's coming into their life that maybe they're not thinking of, but can turn up and be magical for them.
There's two things that this reminds me of. One is a question that Dr. Dan here spoke to in one of his books, that is, what's working here that I'm not seeing? And that always, when I ask that question, leads me to appreciation and gratitude of what is. It's because, you know, it's like the sore thumb. All your attention goes to the sore thumb that's not working, and my painful thumb. And we lose any possibility of attention on all the other organs and systems and digits and limbs in our body that are working. And so it's an immediate attention shift. It's like when the minute you find yourself in that tunnel vision, is to shift your attention to what is working and appreciate and have gratitude for all that's working in your life. Because yes, there may be this one thing that isn't working, but look at all the other amazing things that are. And even if you're grasping at straws of being like, well, there's a roof over my head, might be a car roof, but there's a roof, you know, or you've got one person in your life that's bringing love and joy and support. Or even in the times where we're at our most depressed, even for me personally, when I've been at my lowest of low, I could still find one or two things that I could be really genuinely appreciative and grateful for, even though there were many, many others. But because I was in such a mindset, it was difficult to see, but I could still find some. The sun on your back, the birds in the trees, you know, go out and immerse in nature, because she will always show you beautiful things to be in appreciation of. And that will be just enough to crack the door, the metaphoric door, on what's working here, so that your attention is diverted just for a millisecond, that allows other possibilities to fill the space. We are really just a perspective shift away from an entirely incredible, magical, amazing life, and the opposite of that. I think the people that I've met in my life that had the least were the most appreciative. And yet, for those of us that have grown up in great privilege, it's a skill we've actually had to relearn, which I do find fascinating.
It is fascinating, isn't it? And maybe something for us to dive deeper into on our next call.
Absolutely. Woo. Thank you, Cal.
Thanks so much, Rebel. And thank you so much for all of the wisdom and messages. If you would like to listen to the channeling itself, it's inside Rebel's program called Bowerbirds. That's BOWABIRDS.com. Bowerbirds.com, a community of community creators and like-minded, regenerative-focused people. Check out the links below in the description, and we hope to see you there.